Okay. You can always reopen it later. Mayor? Yeah.
On the motion was to leave the process as is, which is the residents, an area is being annexed, under 250 residents do not vote, and that the businesses aren't allowed, I hate to say that like that, but that's what it is, aren't allowed to vote for an annexation.
Okay, thank you. All right, now we're going to go to Ann and then Mitch.
Which basically leave it as is.
Yeah, the only thing I would, whatever.
Your agenda shows public comments, so I just wondered if you're going to do it.
No, this is not a public hearing. Ann and then Mitch.
Okay, let me see if I understand. The motion is,
To leave it as is.
what did you say about the 250?
As it is now, if an area that's being annexed, if there's less than 250 voters in that area, it doesn't go to a vote, it goes to the county commission, it doesn't go to an election.
Right, and I think that's a very dangerous thing to leave 250 people. Like I pointed out last week, especially in an area like the Redland, 250 registered voters could take an enormous chunk out of the Redland area without anybody being allowed to vote on it.
Yes,
So I think we need to consider that as a separate item.
Yeah.
Just like in
I don't
North
understand
Miami just took a chunk of what was within
She's
the
talking about the
boundaries.
residents, if there's 50 residents.
250.
Yeah.
Okay,
Well,
and then the
threshold is
other
250
thing, the
or lower.
other issue about commercial, the commercial people involved in an annexation shouldn't be allowed to vote because they vote where they live. They vote as individuals. They vote for the president, they vote for local, state, federal offices where they live. Annexation or incorporation involves where they live. If their business happens to be within the area, then they get to vote. But if it's somewhere else, they should not get 2 votes. Nobody gets 2 votes. One man, 1 vote.
Mr. Beamer?
One woman,
I
1
wanna
vote. Sorry.
Yeah, I would have said the same thing. I don't think there's any real way in our electoral system to create some situation where businesses have a vote in a municipal election or in a county election. That's pretty much unheard of in the United States. They do have ample opportunity for input. They have ample opportunity to campaign for or against, as they do in all kinds of elections. But there's never been a situation in which a business owner, registers to vote in a district that he doesn't live in, and then
That's a
goes and
state
votes.
statute.
All right, since he has not spoken yet, Carl's number 2 and...
No, I didn't.
Okay,
I
Carl's number 1.
agree with what we're saying, but am I mistaken or am I missing something? The mayor's not asking for votes, people. The mayor's asking for petitions. The mayor's saying that you need to have, if there's 100 business owners, 50 have to sign a petition. Nobody's asking them to vote twice. So am I missing something?
Does a business owner get to be one of those petition people?
Only the
Not a
business.
resident.
Only the business owners. If I read this correctly, it's saying that they need, if they can.
Yeah, but you know what?
Clarify.
Yeah, I think you're right.
Okay.
I think you're correct.
Can I speak too?
Sure, go ahead.
Okay. This is in state statute. The state of Florida, when they have incorporations, they allow the business owners to sign a petition. Okay, and if 51% don't want it, they don't incorporate. I think it's really myopic to sit there and throw business owners to the wolves. You can break a business by tripling their taxes.
You know what I would
You
say?
know, I think what you should do is tie it to the occupational license, because that is actually the person that is in there running a business.
You know, let me say that. If I may, Manny, I agree with what you said and Ann said, and I'll tell you what the concern is. There's got to be some consistency. And when we, if you're a business owner who happens to live in a certain, in Dade County, you get to vote in your city elections, you get to vote in countywide elections, and you also get to contribute to campaigns and express your influence that way. But, county commissioners have enormous impact on what's going to happen in a district. Enterprise zones and fees, things like that. And businesses, no business in the history of Dade County has ever gotten to vote or sign a petition as to whether or not they're going to vote for a county commissioner. I know that in my city, there was a proposal on whether or not to do, have a waste franchise fee, which would have an impact on all the businesses. Well, you know what? There may be, the Graham companies may own 90% of the commercial and have $1 billion riding on that. But you know what? Bob Graham gets one vote, that's his vote as a citizen. The Graham companies don't get to sign a petition, and the businesses don't get to sign a petition as to whether or not they do it. And on county-wide referendums, when you have county-wide referendums, even referendums that could result in imposing taxes on businesses, you know, business owners don't get to sign a petition and don't get to sign a vote.
This is different.
And let me just finish my comment, then I'll talk. The other concern I have is this. You know, Mr. Friedman, I got you, you're next. Mr. Friedman's talked about, you know, cherry picking and all that. Allowing the commercial property owners to vote is going to result in the worst kind of, it could result in the worst type of cherry picking. Because what would happen is the following. If you allow commercial property owners to vote on you know, we've talked about proportionality, we've talked about, Mr. Friedman's talked about how we're letting people cherry pick back and forth. If you allow the commercial property owners to vote, you've got reverse cherry picking. Because with the millage rate in Dade County of 1.9, the property owners, and it hurts my city, the commercial property owners are going to vote to either stay with the county or go to Miami Lakes or another, or the two, or you know, Aventura, or the 2 or 3 cities that have a millage rate of, you know, less than 2.47, and you would essentially ban every small city, Opelika, Miami, any West Miami. You would pretty much say Sweetwater. Every small city is banned from ever annexing a commercial area. So let me just say this: if you allow commercial property owners to vote, what you're saying is the following. If you allow commercial property owners to vote, you are saying that a wealthy area, like an Aventura, maybe Miami Lakes, or some other areas that have a millage rate of 2 point something or below, they can annex or invite commercial property owners into their areas. But places like West Miami or Sweetwater or Virginia Gardens or
Medley.
or Medley or Opelika or Miami Gardens or other areas, those type of areas would never get it. They'd never have any commercial base. And if you look at the history of the incorporation movements, you know what? I know a lot of business owners who got brought into Miami Gardens, where where we knew taxes were going to be increased. Hey, if they had their say, there's a lot of businesses in high millage rate, smaller cities, or cities that needed to raise the millage rate to provide services. Those businesses, those cities wouldn't have incorporated when Miami Lakes incorporated.
We're talking about
Yeah,
annexation.
but we're saying, but I think it's the same argument. Because,
No, it isn't.
Let me finish my comments. Excuse me. I'll finish my comments and I will listen for as long as you want to speak. Okay.
20 minutes.
When Miami Lakes incorporated, the Graham companies and all the commercial property owners and the restaurants, they didn't have a vote. They didn't get to say, the Graham companies and Italy Today and Shula's Steakhouse did not get to vote and say, you know what, I'd rather stay with the county because I don't want to have a small town mayor screwing things up with the zoning or anything like that. So I think that those are policy decisions. They don't get to have a vote in that. And I'm supporting Mr. Moronio's motion, not because I think, not to help his city or anybody else's city, because as a matter of general policy, I think we should have a consistent policy with annexations and incorporations the same way. The commercial property owners don't get to cherry pick on their side either. Otherwise, you know what? Cities like your city would never